Stories in today's video. 1. I caught my wife cheating, so I filmed it with her camera. 2. What is the strangest way you found out your significant other was cheating on you? 3. Just found out my girlfriend, who recently became semi-long distance, has cheated on me with a good friend of mine. I had graduated college already and my fiancée, Jen, was in her last year. I went to work for a firm about 3 hours away and we had decided to go ahead and set up a place for us. She would drive to me every weekend for that entire year, with me spending some vacation time with her as well. It seemed to be going great. The weekend of her graduation I drove to the college and I would stay in Jen's apartment. Her friends in the apartment complex and across campus were throwing a party in her apartment and several others on the same hallway. About 100 folks total in attendance. It was great to catch up with everyone and several of my college friends were graduating with her. They attended the party too. One of my friends, Bill, came up to us and told me he had a brand new Stingray from his parents as a graduation gift. I told Jen I would run out to see it and be back soon. So Bill and I headed for the door. Then I realized I'd been standing that whole time and really needed to pee, so I told him I would be down in a minute and darted to the bathroom in Jen's apartment, the bathroom attached to her room. After relieving myself and washing hands, I noticed some junk in my hair, like something had fallen from the ceiling. As I brushed it out, I heard Jen enter the room. I was about to call out when I heard a guy's voice with her. He shut the door behind him and I could see them in the bathroom mirror. Their hands were all over each other. She explained to him that I'd gone downstairs with Bill and could be gone for an hour or more, so they stripped and got after it. My head was about to explode. They were experienced with each other, and talk like this would be their last round, so they'd better make it good. I was frozen. Then I noticed her AOS camera on the dresser corner, right outside the bathroom door. I carefully reached for it and snatched it when they were in another position. I'd given this camera to her, no telling what was on it. It's a digital camera and can take movies, so I turned on the movie mode and started it. I had it on me in the mirror with them in the background banging each other. The video would speak for itself. I set the camera on the counter facing them, with a full view of the bed, and realized I didn't have a way out. The door was on the other side of the room. I carefully pulled back the shower curtain and stepped into the tub thinking they would want to clean up. When they finished, he came into the bathroom and ran a towel over himself and cleaned up. She came in and started the shower. I was on the other end of the tub but the water was getting all over me, and she was about to join me. What now? I grabbed the other end of the shower curtain and stepped out when she stepped in. She was facing away from me and didn't see me. This was my only real stroke of luck for the evening. I went into her bedroom, and her engagement ring was on the bedside table. I snatched it and put it in my pocket. No way was I leaving it here. That thing cost $3,000 and she just banged her way out of it. I left a note, made a movie of you and Loverboy, hope you like it, and stuck it on the camera. I figured I needed to let Loverboy get a good enough head start, so I intended to wait until I heard the shower stop. When it did, I let myself out. In a total funk, I left her apartment and walked like a robot down the stairs and to my car. I don't recall a lot of what happened next. I drove back home in a fog and waited for her to call me. She did 2 weeks later. It was the most awkward conversation. She said she didn't want to see me in person. I said, imagine that. She said she didn't blame me for taking the ring. I said I don't care what you think. I could barely get the words out, they were choked in my throat. She told me she'd met the guy at the first of the semester and it was just S***, didn't mean anything. I told her great, and I'm looking forward to the same status. When you don't mean anything to me, then I'll visit and we can have S***, just like you two did, right? She hung up the phone. The phone. We had been married 17 years at the time and were good friends with another couple and had been for about 8 years when it all happened. She had suffered betrayal by her husband several years prior, but they worked through it and seemed to be doing okay until she started telling me she had a crush on a city cop in town. I told her she was playing with fire. She would tell me things he would text her 2001, 2002, so texting was new and exciting then, in confidence, but then I would go home and tell my husband what she said and he would just say, she's doing exactly what Kay, her husband, did to her. That's pretty stupid. Anyway, one afternoon she called me in a panic saying her phone bill was sky high and could I help her by taking a look at her bill online. She wasn't very internet savvy, so I said okay, but you have to tell me your account username and *s sword, which she did, and when her account opened and I saw over *500 text messages to and from my husband's phone number, I swear I could feel my blood begin to boil. Then I went ice cold from my head to my toes. I asked her why she and my husband were texting back and forth so much. Mind you, I never received texts from either of them. She audibly gasped when I told her I could see the dates and times they texted each other. She had no idea I would be able to see that when I opened up her account. She tried to play it off and say that they *SSED jokes between each other and crap like that. I was totally in denial because it was beyond my comprehension that these two people whom I trusted implicitly, my bad, would ever do anything to betray that trust. She kept telling me about this cock who was handsome and rippled with muscles, and my husband gave me no indication that he was even interested in her, *Zuli. In fact, he would talk about how much he hated going over to their place all the time because of her. For 6 months this was going on. She would tell my husband about things I told her about an old boyfriend that I had been in contact with at that time. This in turn would piss him off. Not knowing that was going on, I would turn around and tell my husband the secrets she was telling me about her secret lover. Remember, I was thinking it was this buff city cop was saying and doing with her, which pissed him off even more. You can't make this *T up. Time went on and things became clear to me that I was being gaslighted by the both of them. It took her husband to finally convince me that they were having an affair. I didn't want to believe that I could be betrayed by the two people I trusted so deeply. I confronted him. He confessed. I cut all ties with her and went to counseling for years to try and save my marriage. Something inside of me died for him that evening when he confessed. My kids were only 16 and 6 at that time, and I swore to myself then that when I could get a good job with my own benefits and my kids were stable and happy, I was going to leave him. It took me 8 years and plenty of counseling to find what I needed in order to fulfill my promise, but I finally got to that point and left him. She and her husband stayed together and moved out of state. I've only recently been able to forgive her. Her betrayal to me hurt as much if not more than my husband's. Addendum, I would be remiss if I didn't give any back history on why I was in contact with that old boyfriend, G. You see, at the time, I thought he was the love of my life that I had given up hope on because of my stupid mistake. I had joined the AF before I had even graduated HS. My first assignment was in the UK. I left with barely a goodbye and see you later from him. While over there, I would call him and send him letters but didn't get much of a response from him. My life continued and I had a few relationships, but with him always on my mind. After a year overseas, I went home on leave to see if there was anything there or if it was all in my imagination. Well, I felt I was a worldly woman at 20, having been through several relationships by then. When I saw him, I did everything but rip his clothes off, but I never got the response I wanted, so, feeling dejected, I went back to England with the determination of putting him out of my mind. That was when I met the man who was to become the father of my children. He was a wonderful, fun-spirited, responsible man with integrity and a wonderful work ethic, that led to a pretty stand-up AF career. I truly loved him, in the beginning, enough to say yes when he proposed after only dating for about 6 weeks. We returned to the States and settled into our married military lives, bought a house and decided to have a baby. It was during my pregnancy with our first child that I heard through the grapevine that G had joined the AF also and was to be stationed in Texas. I decided to reach out to him to say, hey, and give him crap about being a lowly E2 compared to my E4. I knew how to work the system and found out where his next duty station was and called only to find out that he wasn't even there yet. He was due to arrive in a few weeks, so I left a message for him to call Sergeant S. immediately upon arrival. It was the best prank I had ever pulled and was delighted when he did return my call. We laughed like we used to in those days of HS. We kept in touch over the next few years by sending birthday cards and a letter here and there to keep each other updated. I even shared this news with my husband, but it must not have made an impact because he swears up and down that I did not tell him. Anyway, fast forward a few years and I separated from the AF before my husband was sent to the Middle East during Desert Storm. He did 3 tours there before we were signed to a base in New Mexico. We sold our little house, packed up and made the move to the high desert. It was while I was pregnant with my second child that I learned G was stationed at a base in Texas, about 100 miles from where we were. We emailed a few times but that was about all until one weekend when my husband had to go TDY to SATX. That's where G and I grew up, home base. My husband was there a few weeks and during that time, played a lot of golf. Did I mention that G also played golf? Yes he did. When my husband came home, we were sitting at the dinner table eating, my mother sitting next to me. It was then that my husband asked, "Hey, do you know a guy named G?" He said he knew you in HS. I was stunned and said, "Yes, I do." Why? He continued to tell us how during a round of golf, he was paired up with G and his dad. I almost snorted my iced tea through my nose. What are the fucking odds? He said, it wasn't until around the 16th hole when G asked him if he was married to Sandra. My husband said yeah. You know her. G said, yay, I know here. We went to HS together. So, my husband begins to really chat with him and G tells him he drives the 100 miles often to play golf at the base we were at because it was a much nicer course, so my husband commences to invite him over for a round of golf and dinner at our place. He's telling me all this and all the while my jaw is on the floor and my mother is laughing because she knows the history I had with this fella. I asked my husband what date was this planned for and he said, I didn't set a date, but I figured you two could figure it out, here's his number. I gave him ours also. SMFH. Later that evening while I was nursing my son, I got up the nerve to call him and it was like no time had ever *SSED between our old friendship. We laughed, shared family news and made plans for the following weekend. He told me that he knew right away that S was my husband as soon as he and his dad were paired up with him and his friend, but it took until the 16th hole until he got enough balls to ask if he was my husband. The week came and went and I got everything ready for a taco dinner while my husband went to play a round of golf. He came home a few hours later and said he waited but G never showed up. I was disappointed but then glad. G called me a few weeks after the no-show and told me that he had gotten dressed and then promptly asked himself what the hell was he doing? He knew I was happily married, why was he going? He decided not to and I think it was for the best. It was during that conversation that I told him how much I had loved him back in the day and how disappointed and sad I was when I came home on leave to a reception I was not expecting. I was 20 at the time when I went home to see him and had been in a few pretty involved relationships by then. It was during this profession of love that he told me he was still a virgin during that time I came home on leave. You see, when we were in HS, I lost my virginity to some yahoo I met at the lake. I did it because I thought that's what guys wanted, an experienced girl. I told him about it when it happened and he was heartbroken. Asterisk asterisk I asterisk asterisk F asterisk CKED it all up. It was my asterisk stupid mistake. Fast forward a few years, around 1999-2000, husband retired from the AF and we moved back to the previous base we were stationed at, and were best friends with this couple, yes, asterisk that asterisk couple. G and I were still talking to each other but it was never, ever in a *sexual manner. That's one of the reasons I loved him so much. He was never disrespectful and we could share anything with each other. He was actually giving me advice on what I could do to better my marriage. I was heavy into journaling at this time and, well, I had too much trust in my spouse. He asked me one evening if I loved him, out of the blue. I said, of course I do, why are you asking me this? He said my journal fell off the desk, and he read the pages where I said that G was probably the love of my life then. Yay, my journal just fell open to that page. What he neglected to read was how much I loved my husband, now, and wanted things to work out between us. So, this is pretty much the segue into how my now ex-husband's affair with my other best friend started. I can't even describe how betrayed, how angry and how alone I feel. As a cliché saying, I'll just start from the beginning. 2 years ago I met the girl of my dreams, she's amazing in the best possible ways and to say I was in love would be the understatement of the year. We keep hanging on and off for days on end, even making her friends and other boys who were into her very jealous. After 5 months of talking and hanging out together and a whole night of playing truth or dare, we admitted we had feelings for each other over call. I was ecstatic to say the least. This was the first ever person I dated and I haven't experienced anything as amazing feeling as that night. From there on it was amazing. We talked for days on end, calling each other as soon as we got home and even joined calls together and turning on our cameras in order to make her more comfortable due to her having severe anxiety, which made it to where she got so worried she wouldn't be able to sleep. We kept going on like that for around 6 months, always doing something new, playing a new game that came out and making new friends. This is when my new friend comes into the picture. We played a couple games that day and found him in one of them. We both enjoyed hanging out with him and decided to invite him to a call over Discord. We all talked, laughed, and we continued on as our friend group slowly grew from 5 to 15 over the next year or so. My girlfriend and I started planning on moving in together around this time and started talking about how amazing this is and planning on taking this to the next level. We started sharing everything including P***s swords to each other's discords. By this point our new friend was by far one of our best friends of all time, and we even talked about having him visit us since he lived only 2 states over, which would be no problem for him. We continued to hang out with our friends, telling them about our plans of the future we wanted to share together, and overall everything seemed to be the same. This is when it all came downhill. About a month ago my family decided to spring a vacation down to a luxury hotel by the sea. I obviously asked whether my girlfriend was allowed to come, which was denied due to my family being worried about COVID-19. Begrudgingly I had to accept since they weren't going to allow me to stay home for 2 weeks all by myself at 20 years old. I told the news to my girlfriend and she was surprisingly excited at the idea, which was uncharacteristic of her due to her severe anxiety. I obviously asked if she was all right and if she was feeling okay. She said was completely fine and that I had apparently helped her through her anxiety over the years, something I extremely regret eating up and believing, and telling her how happy I am that her anxiety is starting to go away. Off I went on the trip with my family to the hotel. I even feel sick looking at this place after all that's happened. I called my girlfriend the second I arrived at the hotel room, checking up on her and asking how she's doing without me, to which she responds along the lines of, "I'm doing great, I miss you so much already and I can't wait to have you back here." Another lie that I regret believing and completely hate myself for being so stupid. I started to enjoy my stay here, going shopping with my younger brother and sister and paying for food and clothes for them. I continued to go about my time just like this before I decided to call my girlfriend 2 days later to check up on her again, having only sent a text to her the night before asking. She continued saying, "I'm doing great, why are you calling so often?" Which finally started raising red flags on my end, but I ultimately dropped it and decided to not call her for another 3 days as my family and I continued to enjoy our stay at the hotel. This is the moment where I feel beyond stupid, betrayed, angry and alone. I called her on Saturday after I told my family I wanted to relax and call her to hang out, opting to play on the laptop my mum had brought along. After a few minutes of ringing to no reply, the other end finally picked up to none other than my friend asking, "Who is this?" I recognized his voice immediately and asked what he was doing over at my girlfriend's house. He rapidly started spouting about how we talked about having him visit and how he took up the first opportunity he could to drive down to my girlfriend's house without saying a single word to me or my girlfriend. This raised every red flag possible. At this point I wasn't just smelling something fishy, I was smelling the whole ocean. I quickly logged on and checked messages between my girlfriend and my friend, only to discover that for 2 months they had been *texting and she had told him about me going away, how badly he wanted her, pictures and more things I can't even stomach to read again, yet alone type. I don't know what to do. I feel betrayed, alone and angry. TLDR girlfriend 20F, *xded with a mutual friend 22M, I had known for a year and a half and invited him over while I 20M was taking a vacation.